For decades, they were the royal family's wild cards, the smiling couple who could turn any scandal into a photo op, any disgrace into a tabloid sideshow. But this time, the laughter has died out. King Charles III has made his decision, and it is absolute. There will be no seat for Prince Andrew or Sarah Ferguson at the royal Christmas table this year. This is not simply about a holiday snub. It's the quiet execution of a royal sentence, one that's been years in the making. The king's patience, stretched thin by repeated humiliation and greed, has finally run out. And what's more, he's not the only one who's had enough. Behind palace walls, even Prince William, the future of the monarchy, is said to have made it clear, he wants them gone for good. The decision, palace insiders say, comes after yet another devastating scandal involving the Duchess of York. Just when Sarah Ferguson seemed to be regaining public sympathy, an old email surfaced, an exchange between her and convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. In it, she called him her supreme friend and apologized for public comments distancing herself from him. The timing was cruel, the tone unforgivable. Years after the world recoiled in horror at Epstein's crimes, this revelation reopened old wounds, and confirmed what many within the palace already feared. The Duchess hadn't simply been careless, she had been complicit in keeping dangerous company. For King Charles, who has spent his reign trying to restore moral authority to the crown, this was the final straw. It's another very tricky domestic situation for Charles, says former BBC royal correspondent Jenny Bond. He is a sensitive man, and family is important to him. But these latest revelations about Fergie's association with Jeffrey Epstein make it impossible for her to be part of the inner family circle again. Bond's words echo a sentiment that's now shared across royal circles, that the Duke and Duchess of York have become symbols of everything the monarchy can no longer afford to represent: excess, arrogance, and scandal without remorse. The King's message is unambiguous. There will be no place for them at Sandringham this Christmas, not in the official photos, not at the church walk, not in the carefully choreographed image of a united royal family. Out of sight, out of mind, is how one insider reportedly put it. It's a quiet exile, but an exile nonetheless. The breaking point. The Yorks' fall from grace has been long, public, and often painfully self-inflicted. Prince Andrew's friendship with Epstein destroyed what little respect he had left after his disastrous BBC interview in 2019, when he infamously claimed he couldn't sweat, and showed no remorse for his association with the disgraced financier. Sarah Ferguson, too, seemed to oscillate between self-pity and opportunism, positioning herself as both victim and survivor, while never fully owning her mistakes. When news of the latest email broke, several of Fergie's long-term charity partners quietly cut ties. PR experts labeled her radioactive. Even some of her defenders admitted privately that this was different, this was fatal. The email wasn't just poor judgment, it was moral blindness. For King Charles, who had already endured decades of royal embarrassment during his own turbulent life, the thought of beginning his reign under the shadow of the Yorks' greed was intolerable. Their selfishness and greed undo the good work that the rest of the family carry out, Bond noted. It's time for that to stop. The King's stance is mirrored by Prince William's resolve. The heir to the throne has been described as unforgiving toward his uncle and Fergie, seeing them as permanent stains on the family's reputation. Unlike his father, who still tries to preserve some semblance of brotherly loyalty, William is a strategist. He sees the monarchy as a brand, one that must be protected at all costs. When Andrew and Sarah appeared at the Duchess of Kent's funeral earlier this year, walking behind senior royals, William's discomfort was visible. Andrew, ever tone-deaf, tried to engage his nephew in light-hearted conversation. William's expression didn't change. He ignored him completely. That cold silence was a statement louder than any official decree: there will be no redemption. From favorites to outcasts. There was a time when Andrew and Sarah were the golden couple of the 1980s. He was the dashing naval hero, Randy Andy, as the tabloids called him, and she was the red-haired commoner with infectious laughter. They brought a sense of modernity to the Windsors, a touch of humanity. For a brief moment, the world adored them. But the charm didn't last. Their marriage collapsed in a storm of debt, infidelity, and scandal. The infamous, toe-sucking photographs from 1992, showing a Texas businessman kissing Sarah's feet, sealed her fate. Prince Philip, enraged and disgusted, reportedly swore never to be in her presence again. The late Queen, ever the peacemaker, tolerated Sarah's occasional presence at family events for the sake of their daughters. But she never truly forgave her. Even after their divorce, Andrew and Sarah's relationship remained strangely entangled. They lived together at Royal Lodge, maintaining what their daughter Princess Eugenie once called the best divorced couple in the world. But to many, it looked like indulgence, two disgraced royals clinging to privilege they no longer deserved. Now, King Charles has decided enough is enough. The quiet purge. The Yorks' continued occupancy of Royal Lodge has long been a thorn in the king's side. The lavish 30-room property, surrounded by 98 acres of parkland, is seen by some courtiers as an embarrassment, a symbol of unchecked entitlement. Rumors swirl that the king is considering a more formal restructuring of royal estates, one that could see Andrew and Sarah removed entirely. Royal aides say it would align with Charles's long-term plan to slim down the monarchy and ensure that only active, working royals live on the crown estate. If that happens, it would effectively end Andrew and Sarah's long reign of privilege and cement their status as permanent outcasts. But even without eviction, their social exile is already complete. Sandringham, the traditional stage for the royal Christmas, is no ordinary family gathering. It is the monarchy's annual theatre of unity, the walk to church, the exchange of greetings with the public, the group photos that radiate tradition and stability. Every year, those images define the royal narrative. This year, they will tell a different story, one without the Yorks. Hopefully, the Yorks will take the same approach as last year and stay away, Bond said. They have their own family to celebrate with. But their presence at Sandringham can no longer be justified. A line drawn in history. The king's decision isn't just a reaction, it's a statement. It signals the dawn of a new era, a monarchy that prioritizes duty over sentiment, reputation over nostalgia. For Charles, who spent his life waiting in the wings while scandals consumed his family, this is a declaration of authority. For William, it's a blueprint for the monarchy he will inherit, leaner, cleaner, and ruthless when necessary. And for the Yorks, it's the end of the royal road. From Royal Lodge, they will likely issue polite statements, perhaps hint at misunderstanding or media distortion. But the truth is unavoidable. They are relics of a royal past that no longer fits the times. This Christmas, Sandringham will gleam with candles and carols, the next generation stepping forward, William, Kate, and their children, the embodiment of continuity and control. And somewhere in the dim corridors of Windsor, two faded figures will watch the headlines and understand at last, the monarchy they once mocked has finally outgrown them. Their names will still appear in the history books. But this time, not as royals, as a warning. Because in the House of Windsor, forgiveness is no longer infinite. An exile, once begun, never ends.